My guest is none other than the director of the Suncook Valley Chorale, Scott Lounsbury. Welcome.
Thank you, Doris. Good to see you again.
How do you find people? How does it all happen?
They find us.
That's what's so unique about the Suncook Valley Chorale.
You know, and most community choruses, it's that kind of thing. Certainly, we are in a position right now where we are trying to actively promote the participation of some more basses and tenors. We have had a bit of a dearth of basses and tenors. Our 5 basses are rocking our world, and our 7 tenors are really doing a job. But we sure could use another few in those ranks, and because of that, we have decided that what we're going to say is, if a bass or a tenor can come to both of our open sings and will be singing with us for, trying us out for both of our open sings, then we will give them 2 free tickets to the May concert.
And 14 years and older, so
Yep.
do you have some teenagers in the
We have had in the past, yes. We ask for 14 years and older. We also ask for the ability to hold your own choral part, which, it is an important part of being able to.
That can be difficult for some people.
It can indeed be difficult for some people.
Do they have to know how to read music?
No, they do not.
That's a big deal for those of us who are nervous. We know how to read a little bit, but not enough to keep up with those really.
But that's really the kind of folk that we tend to gather. What an amazing city Concord is, where we have got 3 or 4 different choral organizations where people have differing abilities. Maybe you have a great ability in the community aspect of it, or in the world aspect of it. Well, maybe you're a song weaver, or maybe you are into the whole classics and the wonderful, rich repertoire there, and you've got the Concord Chorale. We are a different kind of group. I think we are appealing to mostly a different demographic, and we tend to do stuff that is a little lighter weight. We do classics, we do jazz, we do a little bit of pop here and there. So it's a little bit of everything. No, you don't need to read. Being able to read certainly helps, but we have many resources for ways of teaching you the music. There are very rare occasions on which we ask people to memorize. Now, all of my members are saying,
they're trained to look up and
I encourage it
yes.
constantly, very constantly, yes. The idea is people have not come to see what a good hairdresser you have.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah, no.
That's perfect.
I'm Heather McConaughey. I'm the newly installed music director at St. Paul's Episcopal Church here in Concord. Our hope with the music program, as I'm envisioning it, is really to, in a sense, embody what the Episcopal Church is about, and that sense of inclusion. And the idea being that there should never be anyone who feels that they can't participate in the music department just because they don't have either the musical background or the musical experience. And that really just anybody should feel free to express themselves musically. I'm really hoping to direct that kind of program. At the same time, we're really trying to embrace historic sacred music, and in that regard, emphasize traditional hymns and classical music and classical approach especially for the adult choir. But when it comes to what we're trying to present for the congregation on a Sunday by Sunday basis, we're really trying to have a wide mix of recognizable melodies at the same time as representing classical tradition. It's worth mentioning that I'm positively inspired by the organ in this space. It's just a gorgeous instrument and has so much history and so much rich depth. Of course, the church owns a set of handbells, and I know that in the past there have been a lot of experiences and opportunities for people to ring handbells, and I certainly look forward to re-establishing a handbell group and a youth choir and a very young person's choir even. Look forward to music for all ages and all backgrounds and experiences. On a week-by-week basis, we, the music department, I, the organist, and the adult choir, appear in one service at the 10 o'clock service. The 8 o'clock service is what's called sort of a silent service, a real contemplative time for people to be able to just experience the liturgy and the Eucharist in quiet. And then we sort of pull out all the stops for the 10 o'clock service. One service or one Sunday a month comes what we call the ageless worship, in which case both the 8 o'clock and the 10 o'clock services have music, because the music and all of the approach at the 10 o'clock service is designed to just include people of all ages, and especially the young people who might come forward and hear the sermon and that sort of thing. As we head into the holidays, I'm really looking forward to what this church and this program, and especially that inspiring space, can bring. I understand there are 3 services on Christmas Eve, going into the midnight vigil, the waiting and the expecting and the excited anticipation of Christmas Day. And the choir sings at all of these services, and looking forward to all of the music that we'll be able to celebrate and enjoy. I really do feel that I've arrived at just a fantastic crossroads in my musical journey and in my liturgical music life, because the opportunity here is just incredible. The potential to grow the program and to really make it my own, and the joy of just producing this music Sunday by Sunday with these people with whom I have, of course, the common mindset. Thrilled to be here.
With cat-like tread, upon our prey we steal, in silence dread, our cautious way we feel. No sound at all, we never speak a word, a fly's footfall would be distinctly heard. Come, friends who prowl the sea, trust to navigation, take another station. Let's bury piracy, with a little paddler, cat-like tread. Upon our prey we steal, in silent dread, our cautious way we steal. Okay, one more time. Come on, come on.
Recitation and performance are major new trends in poetry. There has been a recent resurgence of poetry as an oral art form, as seen in the slam poetry movement and the immense popularity of hip-hop music. Poetry Out Loud builds on that momentum by inviting the dynamic aspects of slam poetry, spoken word, and theater into the English classroom. Poetry Out Loud encourages the nation's youth to learn about great poetry through memorization and performance. The program helps students master public speaking skills, build self-confidence, and learn about their literary heritage.
I have met them in dark alleys. I have seen them playing cards under a single light bulb, and I tried to join in, but they refused me rudely, knowing I would only let them win. I have seen them in the foyers of theaters, coming back late from the interval, long after the others have taken their seats. I have seen them in deserted shopping malls late at night, peering at things they can never buy. And I have found them wandering in a wood where I too have wandered.
Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here. to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake.
September was when it began. Locusts dying in the fields. Our dogs silent, moving like shadows on a wall. And strange worms crawling. Flies of a kind we had never seen before. Huge vineyard moths. Badgers and snakes abandoning their holes in the field. The fruit gone rotten. Queer fungi sprouting. The fields and woods covered with spider webs.
Anyone lived in a pretty how town, with up so floating many bells down. Spring, summer, autumn, winter. He sang his didn't, he danced his did. Women and men, both little and small, cared for anyone, not at all. They sowed their isn't, they reaped their same. Sun, moon, stars, rain. Children guessed, but only a few, and down they forgot as up they grew. Autumn, winter, spring, summer, that no one loved him more by more. When by now in tree by leaf, she laughed his joy, she cried his grief. Bird by snow and stir by still.
I was scared of dentists and the dark. I was scared of pretty girls and starting conversations. Oh, how my friends are turning green. You're the magician's assistant in the dreams. Oh, oh, and they come unstuck. Lady running down to the riptide, taken away to the dark side. I wanna be your left-hand man, and I love you when you're singing that song, and I get along.
Hello, I'm David Priest. I'm the playwright of the play Dancing Among the Wildflowers. This is the third play in a trilogy of plays that I wrote recently about three of the most dynamic presidents of the last century, and that was John Fitzgerald Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, and Richard Nixon. Lyndon Johnson was a very dynamic man. He came from nothing in Stonewall, Texas, from a very poor, impoverished family, and he, at a very early age, became an idol of the work that FDR was doing. He saw the need of bringing the populations up and giving them decent jobs and education and infrastructure and art, and he wanted to continue that. Dancing Among the Wildflower, it takes place the morning of the last day of Johnson's life, and he was at the Johnson Ranch, and he was a man very much in control of the ranch and of the details, but he was also in a very failing health. He probably had congestive heart failure. His heart was so bad that he couldn't breathe at times, and he was in constant pain. But he didn't want to show that to the people that he worked with, to the people that he loved. He wanted to show that he was in control. He talks to his old assistant from the White House, Tom Johnson, no relationship, about what was going on. And at that time, it was the second day after Nixon's second inauguration. And Nixon was slowly unraveling the Great Society programs that Johnson had put in place. And it was painful to see that all the work and effort of his career was starting to be unraveled. And Lady Bird comes in And she had just recently been appointed to the Board of Regents for the University of Texas. And this is a very high, very prestigious position in Austin. But she was very hesitant to leave Johnson that morning because she knew of his failing health, and she could tell that something might go wrong in her absence. So we have this dynamics of a man who's very much in pain, and he's very depressed about what is going on about his legacy, and a woman who didn't want to let go of him and didn't want to leave him. And he knew that she had to leave in order to be strong and to live without him. So he kind of pushes her out the door in a very kind and gentle manner. But he had to do that because he knew that his days and his time was very limited.
My guest today is relatively new to the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen, but almost a year with the League. She is Jane O'Neill, the Executive Director of the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, well, I'm happy to have you. So much to find out about what's going on with the League.
Can people really make a career in the arts? And here I am at the head of an organization trying to ensure that craftsmen can make a life for themselves, can make a career in the arts. So I feel like I'm living proof that you can make a career in the arts.
And that's what the League of New Hampshire Craftsmen is all about, right? It's helping craftsmen to be able to make a living and to share their craft with New Hampshire and beyond.
And I think that the arts have a very powerful way of bringing people together. And so the League itself is an amazing community of craftsmen, and then I think the people that support it and the people that shop Fine Craft are also an incredible community. One of the oldest arts nonprofits in the state, and it's actually the first arts nonprofit that ever went to a state and successfully got funds for starting as a nonprofit.
So it was funded by the state?
Initially. Not anymore.
Right. Well, let's make that clear
Right.
so people don't think, because it does have the word New Hampshire in it.
Right.
So a lot of people feel that sometimes if it has New Hampshire in it, that it's funded by the state.
Right. I'm so happy to have this conversation because we can dispel all the myths.
Let's do that.
So the League really started off sort of in response to the economic crisis of the Great Depression. So you have all these people who are looking for work, who are looking for additional income, just trying to find a way to support themselves. And they have these incredible sort of homespun talents. So they might have done some weaving at home, they might have done some woodworking at home. And the League sort of came together as an umbrella organization that could help market their work and provide sales opportunities for their work. So back then it was called home industries. I love that term. People were literally selling things off of their front porches. And now it's fine craft. And we've got these gorgeous galleries located statewide, but it's the same idea. It's this idea that if you're an independent craftsman who's taking the time to really create beautiful works, you probably don't have enough of an income to run your own shop or to do your own marketing, and that's where the League comes in.
That's where the League comes in.
So the League is really there to help them grow as professionals and then to also help them market their work and sell their work. So we offer professional development series where they might learn about building their own website or how to manage their own social media or how to use something like Photoshop. But then,
or video.
There you go. I see a partnership forming right here. But then they also have the opportunity to have their work carried in any of our 8 fine craft galleries. I mean, that's so extraordinary to think that you could produce something in your own home.
And you have a
sales venue.
You have a distribution
outlet.
Right.
Exactly. And we know that so many people have success with websites like Etsy or Craftsy or something like that. But we also know that when it comes to something that's made by hand, people love to hold it. They love to have that touch experience before they buy. So So we're providing that opportunity, which is incredible. And I think it's incredible that the small state of New Hampshire can support 8 fine craft galleries.
That's a testament to the people of our state.
Absolutely.
How they support local artists.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of the Craftsman's Fair, that you have the opportunity to make that personal connection. And you can imagine if you start going back every year, it's not just a purchase that you're making. I mean, you're checking in with a friend, and every time you use the bowl that they made or the earrings that they made, you get to tell the story of your friend, that craftsman, and maybe the story of what inspired them to make that, or where they sourced their materials, or something along those lines. But you know that work intimately, and then you know that craftsman intimately. What I'd like to do is to make sure that the League can stay relevant to people throughout their life. So if you're a young artist just starting off, we want to offer services that benefit you at that point in your career, but we also want to do things that benefit you later on in your career. I think I've mentioned to you before, we have craftsmen that have worked in the Smithsonian. I mean, we have some of the best craftsmen in the country and in the world. And we want to make sure that the League that helped to get them there in many cases can still be relevant to them when they might not necessarily need to be able to sell in our fine craft galleries. So we want to be able to celebrate them, and we're hoping that at that point in their career they want to give back too. So really it's this idea of offering something throughout the life cycle, whether you're a crafts person, or whether you're just somebody who's interested in learning a little bit more about a craft, or even if you're just interested in supporting the arts. How do you get started, and what can the League do for you along the way?
As construction in downtown Concord continues, a group of local filmmakers is making use of the transition from old to new in their fictional film Granite Orpheus. An updated and improvised take on the Greek myth set in the streets, alleys, squares, basements, and rooftops of the capital city. It was my idea to use Concord because Concord was in this sort of moment in time between the old and the new, quotes director Rick Broussard. Granite Orpheus, a largely improvised film starring Brian Halperin, is loosely based on the story of Orpheus, a musician and poet who tries and fails to retrieve the love of his life from the underworld. For more information on the film, visit their Facebook page, facebook.com/Granite Orpheus.
My guest today is someone you might recognize every time you go into Red River Theaters, and that would be Katie Mosher, the Events and Marketing Manager for the theater. Let's talk about some of the events that you're involved in. How exciting is that for a 26-year-old young lady?
Oh, it's so exciting.
Right.
And you mentioned that red carpet viewing party. That's our next upcoming event.
And that's $20?
It's a
Is that how
$20
much?
ticket, and
That's
you get
very affordable.
so much
Right.
out of it. So it's going to be this great fun party. Barry Steelman, as you mentioned before, he's our programming coordinator. He's doing trivia for us. So there's going to be trivia during the commercial breaks. We'll be watching the red carpet, so all the beautiful dresses and all the super interesting outfits will be out there.
Is there a need to dress up to go to this? Or?
For this event, we're doing kind of a low-key, more party atmosphere. So, you know, if you were someone who would be like, I'm going to wear this snazzy, super sparkly outfit for a party, you can still wear it.
Right.
You know, there will be a lot of people dressing up. Someone called and asked me, they're like, should I dress in a costume? I'm like, it's really, you make the event. So some people will be dressed up. Overall, most people will be just nice and in that party atmosphere.
So you can enjoy together with a group.
Oh,
if
yes.
you're really into the films, to see if your prediction,
Exactly.
right? Because you will be seeing if
we
people
have the
can
ballots
predict
too.
the
We've been doing a
ballots.
little ballot contest in our gallery space. Folks have been pulling out the ballots, and we will tabulate a winner, and that winner will win a special prize too. So if you are coming in and you have some ideas about who you think will win, grab one of those ballots, fill it out before the Oscar ceremony on the 28th. And you might win a prize. So it's definitely fun to watch that. And so in addition to that trivia we'll have some other games. I think we're going to be doing a bingo of some sort. And then we'll also have beer and wine. We work with a lot of nonprofits. We have a nonprofit discount, and we also have
Which
other
we
ways.
appreciate.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because we're a nonprofit too, and we know how hard it is to get your feet off the ground. So it's definitely, we're there to relate to everyone and really get them going. Like work with them to get that happening. So, you can rent the theater. It's really call me, email me,
email Kate.
smoke signal me.
My name is Clint Close, and I'm the artistic director for a local theater company called RB Productions.
And my name is Jim Spiegel, and I am one of the directors for RB Productions in the summer. I'm also a teacher at the Derryfield School in Manchester.
RB Productions, believe it or not, began 13 years ago. It was started by a former student of mine whose name is Ryan Brown. That's where the RB comes from. And when he went to Beaver Meadow School, participated in our after-school theater program, and just fell in love with the whole process. When he was ready to graduate from high school, instead of asking his parents for a typical, I don't know, is there such a thing as a typical senior gift? Didn't want a computer, didn't want a car. He asked his parents if they would help him start a theater company. We primarily now specialize in youth theater. We usually do 4 different productions during the summer. And it usually ranges in, our youngest performers are age 5, and our oldest performers are usually young college students around 19. So that is our primary focus right now, that we offer those kind of programs during the summer. One of the great connections that we've had is we've had some great New York talent, New York artists come up to the Concord area and help us with our vocal master classes. It was something that we felt we wanted to try because when we started 13 years ago, there wasn't a ton of children's theater. However, now there is a ton of children's theater. So we wanted to find a way that could help us separate ourselves from other theater companies, and so we started the Vocal Masterclass program. Our first one was Sierra Bogus, who came up and did just a masterful job. Our second one was Laura Osnes, who was in Cinderella. And her counterpart, Santino Fontana, who was the prince, and he was also Prince Hans, actually, in the movie Frozen, his voice, came up and did our third one. And then most recently, we had Tony Yazbek, who was most recently in On the Town, and right now he is J.M. Barrie, finishing up that role in Finding Neverland. So we've been very, very fortunate. Now we're planning for the summer of 2017, and our website of www.rbproductions.org will list all of our information about what's coming up in our programs.
I think one of the great things about RB is it's such a performance-based summer camp, and we do them fast. They're 1 week. They're 1 week camps. So the kids have auditions. We have auditions
Early June.
Right. So everybody knows their parts for any number of shows. They could be maybe some are in all 4 shows, or just a couple, or just one. It's really like clockwork. It's really, I don't want to say assembly line, but it really does work. and there's no downtime, and they have a blast. And like Clint was saying, the ages range in any given show, so kids are learning from each other constantly.
We also wanted to create what we call now our understudy program. So we not only cast the show, but anyone who's in an ensemble role also gets an understudy role for one of the lead parts as well. And so they're learning that two-track system. We have what we call our showcase, which gives those understudies a chance to perform. And I think it's amazing. The other last thing we're thrilled about too is that being a community theater company, we also pay all of our staff during the summer. So we do get a lot of not only highly qualified people, but people who... Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't find that memo? So that just gives you another element to us as a theater company. We value everybody. We have a lot of volunteers, don't get me wrong, but during our 9 to 4 time, we pay all of our staff members so that we can put on the best possible performance, and kids can learn the maximum amount of things that they need to. But rbproductions.org, and we hope to be here for another 113 years. So we really appreciate this opportunity.
I'm Brian Halperin, the director of the Community Players of Concord's fall production of Once on This Island. And Once on This Island is a musical by the team of Aarons and Flaherty, who are most well known for Ragtime, Seussical. They just did Rocky, and the upcoming Anastasia is a musical that's coming to Broadway next year. Once on This Island was one of their first Broadway shows, and it was written to... It's basically a musical about storytelling. So it's set up like a play within a play, except it's a musical within a musical. Once on This Island takes place in the middle of a storm, where there's a young girl who's scared of the thunder and lightning. And her community around her starts to telling her a story to take her mind off of the storm. Within the piece, the story that they tell her is about a girl named Timoon, who was spared by the gods during a storm, much like the storm this little girl is facing, raised by a couple of peasants on a Caribbean island, who falls in love with a rich, wealthy landowner from the other side of the island. Now, of course, in this, like in many places in the world, these different groups don't mix. Timoon rescues this boy when he has a car accident and nurses him back to health, and falls in love with him. And so they she wants to break down these barriers between their two groups. One of the challenges of this musical is it was originally written as a bunch of native Caribbean peasants sitting around a campfire telling this story about sort of the peasants of their community and the mixed heritage people. They describe them as the rich are sort of coffee mixed with cream, whereas the peasants are, black as night. Now, of course, to do community theater in New Hampshire, that becomes a challenge in terms of the casting. So I really love the music of this show and always wanted to do it, and was looking for a way to figure out how we can do this in New Hampshire that shares this story, which is a great message and an important one, knowing that we might have racial limitations into how we cast. So what we've chosen to do is set the story in the unnamed elementary school gymnasium anywhere in America where people have hunkered down as a Red Cross shelter during a hurricane. So it's the same framework that the original production had. It's people waiting out a storm together, a community of people brought together, and a little girl in the gym starts crying over the thunder and lightning. So the two Red Cross workers come and start to tell her the story. So then the other aspect of it was, how do you share the message of the different skin colors, the race relations in the story? And the way we're attacking that problem is that the gym was set up as like a school dance, like a masquerade was going to be happening. So there are masks all around, there's decorations. One of the things that I think masks work really well as sort of a metaphor for getting this point across is, there are so many things in our society, class, race, gender, religion, that essentially are masks that hide the real person inside. And many times, as people, we see the mask first before we see the person behind the mask. The idea that masks, all these differences we have amongst people in our society are really just masks that hide the true person inside the mask. you know, the lesson I sort of want to teach kids and, you know, anyone who sees this is let's pull the masks away and look past the mask and start seeing people as people. And that's really what storytelling is all about, is, you know, teaching and sharing and then letting the people who hear the story pass that story on to somebody else. What I like about this musical, it's not, you know, there's comedy in it, there's tons of dancing. I mean, we're going to have all sorts of different dancing styles and movement styles. We're going to use the actors to create the storm and the car crash and things like that. So it's a very physical show. The music's wonderful. The show is at the Concord City Auditorium on November 18th through 20th. I believe it's 7:30 on Friday and Saturday and 2 p.m. on Sunday. You can get tickets via the Community Players of Concord website and calling the Audi. Calling the Audi closer to showtime. It's going to be a great show if we all go out humming a few tunes and, you know, having thought a little bit about the idea of the mask, and, you know, that maybe the next person we meet on the street who doesn't look like us or sound like us or, you know, pray like us, we might think about that before we, you know, before we interact, and interact as a person, not as somebody with a different mask than we have.
New England College is proud to be a part of downtown Concord. While our main campus is only 15 minutes away in Henniker, our center at 62 North Main Street has become an exciting and versatile venue in the heart of Concord's newly renovated downtown. NEC Concord offers state-of-the-art classrooms and a storefront venue that is used by a wide variety of community groups and organizations. Graduate courses and graduate program open houses are held here. Public events are frequent, and there's something for everyone. Political town halls, poetry slams, discussions on topics ranging from organic farming to filmmaking, author readings and book signings can all be found on the NEC Concord calendar. The Listening Room Music Series features regional performers and nationally touring musicians, with several shows each month free to the public in an intimate performance space. Come by 62 North Main Street in Concord and learn more about what New England College has to offer you.
Good afternoon and welcome to Hatbox Theater. Come on in. You can see this is Concord's newest performing arts venue. We can seat up to 100 people in here. What's really nice about the space is that it's very intimate. You can be really up close and personal with the actors and performers on stage. You're no further than 4 seats back from the action. It's a thrust style seating, so you have actually performers in the center of a pit and then the audience around them, with the exception of being behind them. We have a lighting grid, we have a digital sound system, we have recordable sound cues and light cues that we can do up in the back. So this is the space. It's reconfigurable. We can have different types of settings and seatings. We can actually move the side seats around to create different experiences as different productions come into play. Our model is a cooperative theater space, which means that we have a number of groups approach us once a year during our pitch night and suggest that their production would be perfect for our space. And we go through all of the submissions and we select and we create a season, and any group that becomes part of our season, they actually get 60% of the gate, meaning any ticket sold, they get 60% of to cover their costs, to pay their people, and to help build their own programs. We're really kind of a laboratory space, a space for theater companies who are up and coming, who want to try new and innovative and kind of exciting work that might not work in a very large venue, in this space, and give them a home. One of the things that we featured in this space is a technical booth. We wanted to make it easy for lighting designers and sound designers to create and be able to see exactly what's going on during the performance, and we'll take you a walk up through there in a minute. All the seats that you see in here actually came from either 1 or 2 high schools. Most of the seats that are fixed came from Kearsarge Regional High School when they were renovating their auditorium. I was involved in that project, helping to redesign the space, and they were basically surplusing and throwing away all the theater seats. I managed to find 3 other theaters to actually take and recycle the seats, and now they have much better seats than they had at one time, and we managed to create a space here in Concord that hasn't existed in this type of intimate environment for some time. So when you first come to Hatbox, Well, everybody needs to get their tickets, so we have a box office. We actually took the former counter at Coldwater Creek and pressed it into service as our box office. We actually are using computers that were left behind by the store to actually run our box office. We can print the tickets here, and we have concessions and a nice little waiting area back here. One of the things that we're trying to do at Hatbox, in addition to providing theater and music and comedy and magic and all of those, is to look at the other arts as well. So we've begun having an artist in residence project where artists can come. We select an artist once a month, and they can put up their work and they can sell their work here at the Hatbox, and we'll handle all of the credit card sales and all of that sort of stuff right here. You can see it's really nice because we're taking full advantage of the walls that were here for the retail space to actually be able to hang things. And I think that as our seasons progress, I'm hoping that our designers start to look at the walls around the space as a way of enfolding the audience into the sets, because we have all of the hanging hardware and brackets and shelves. One of the things that are important in little black box spaces like this is the opportunity to really flesh out the experience. And oftentimes you do it with lighting and you do it with sound because you really are surrounding the audience. So what we did is we built a rather luxurious, for black box space, tech booth. We have a 16-channel digital Allen & Heath soundboard. We have QSC speakers that feed all of the area, all of the seating areas in the house. And we have a digital light board, again, something that was donated by Kearsarge Regional High School, who was going to be throwing it away anyways. A board from 1996, actually, so it's pretty vintage when it comes to digital light boards. Of course, when you have actors, you need to have a place to put them. So we actually took advantage of one of the features here of this. This used to be an actual clothing store for women. We took advantage of the fitting room. So come on in, let's go see where the actors get to change. This is kind of a back hallway, and they have a nice big mirror here that they can see full length. And the restrooms are at the end of the hall. We have 2 handicap accessible restrooms for the public that's also shared by the performers. And then back here we have 5 fitting rooms that we have actually repurposed for our dressing room. So this is a place for the actors to prepare, to kind of chill out and be ready for the performance that's coming up. We have some more work to do still in here. We've added some mirrors to the different rooms. We've actually added some additional lighting to make it a little easier for the actors to see when we turn off the lights and the performances begin. And we have a little screen to help give them a little privacy. Well, we really want to thank you for coming and taking this little tour of Hatbox Theater. We'll hope you'll come and take a look at it for yourself. Just coming up shortly, we have Candid Candidate, an original play by a New Hampshire playwright. Candid Candidate will be happening just in another week or so. We also have an original one-woman play called A Gift of Madness coming up. And then Hatbox Theater is going to produce its own adaptation of A Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens' classic, right here in Hatbox. That's the exciting things that are coming up for the main stage shows. But we also have stand-up comedy. We have Discovering Magic, a magic show. We have concerts in the space. We have all sorts of other things. We have Tales Told, which is kind of like The Moth, but done locally. So there's all sorts of exciting things to find at Hatbox. So please check us out online. You can find out what shows are coming up and buy your tickets at hatboxnh.com. And we look forward to seeing you in the Hatbox.